Hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of our entitled parents. In today's episode, my mom, 49F, expects me, 25F, and my divorced father, 55M, to pay for everything and I'm growing resentful. All because of mushrooms. My dad flipped. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. My mom, 49F, expects me, 25F, and my divorced father, 55M, to pay for everything and I'm growing resentful. My parents started dating very young, when my mom was 20 and my dad was 26. He helped her leave her abusive household and helped her by paying for her university and accomplish her dream of becoming a lawyer. They had me 4 years later and got divorced on good terms when I was 3. My father continued paying for an apartment and a 24/7 live-in nanny/cook for us since she was my primary caretaker, and during that time she remarried to a bum and had my sister, 15F. He ended up being a deadbeat dad. My dad still paid our rent throughout those years, including utilities and school, only for me, not my sister. Her dad paid for it. He loves and cares for my sister and takes her out to eat and to the movies whenever he can. He put me through college and now I own a house and have a great job in NYC. I had no idea the extent of my dad's help to my mom until a few years ago. My mom straight up refuses to get a formal job because she doesn't like having a boss, doesn't like following other people's schedule, and likes to come and go as she pleases. She does freelance work for friends of friends that don't pay much since they are people from low-income areas. She fully relies on my father to give her enough money for rent, utilities, and groceries, and he enables her because he knows that if he doesn't help them, they would be in the streets. She has no savings, no health insurance, no social security, no retirement plan, and I'm getting extremely anxious at the idea that I will be the one taking care of all of that in the future, as well as paying for my sister. I help out with extra money for groceries and medication that she needs, as well as money for my sister's birthday parties and presents, but it infuriates me that my mom was offered a helping hand and grabbed the whole arm instead. I've talked to her about getting a formal job instead of doing freelance, but she's set in her ways and my parents' arrangement has gone on for so long that I don't think it's possible to change it. My dad enabled her too much. Thinking about my dad still supporting her lifestyle even after he retires breaks my heart because he works off. I make my opinion known that I think this arrangement is BS, but it is taking a toll on me trying to make things better. I worked really hard for the job I have now, and I don't want to spend all my money on my mom either. I want to have a family of my own and go on trips with my husband without worrying about my mom, and it makes me feel guilty. That's a horrible position to be in. What would be the outcome if you stopped helping? Your mother can only maintain her current lifestyle because 3 other people are bankrolling it. Minimally, your sister's dad should be paying enough support to cover some of the rent and groceries. Your mom needs to get a job, not a career, just a job. Tell your mom now that you will not be taking over from your dad to support her and that she needs to figure it out before she becomes homeless. Your father is obviously a kind and generous man. Maybe they should get married again, on paper only, then at least she will be able to claim his social security. She is not your responsibility. Live your life. Your mom will not change unless she has to. Your father has chosen to support her and her daughter, who is almost an adult. You have been dragooned into it. Stop. Move out, get your own place, stop paying her, and if possible use that money to start saving for a car, home, training, things you will need, especially if you want a family someday. Build your own life. And if mom asks why you are no longer giving her money, tell her you need it to start living your own life. And she has no right to your earnings. She is an educated woman well able to take care of herself if she wants to. Just lazy, too entitled to work for someone else like everyone else. Not your problem. If you don't want to support your mom, then why are you supporting her now? End it now before she gets too used to you giving and not saying no. You're becoming your father in that you're falling into constantly paying for your mom's spending. Stop it now. All because of mushrooms. When I was 7, my stepsister and I were friends with this girl who was living with her grandparents. Let me just say I think the grandfather was old school, because every morning at 8 a.m. he would lock her and her 4-year-old brother out to go play, but no one is up at that time. The grandmother, however, she's a different story, which leads us to this. It was the girl's birthday, and of course we were invited. After a few hours of fun, it was dinner time. The grandmother cooked hamburger helper with mushrooms. I didn't like mushrooms, so I ate everything but the mushrooms. She did not like this. As I was getting up with everyone else to go home, she sat me back down and told me to finish my plate. I sheepishly told her that I do not like mushrooms, to which she responded, "You aren't leaving this house until you eat them." My stepsister was allowed to leave, so she went home and grabbed our dad to come rescue me, because this woman was practically holding me hostage. I wasn't allowed to her house after that. I've never understood adults who forced kids to eat stuff they didn't like. I imagine it's a combination of the Great Depression mentality of eat what you can because you don't know if you can eat later, and the elders know best mentality. My dad was almost apologetic when I didn't make my kids finish their plate or allow them to avoid foods they didn't like. "I raised you to clean your plate." Yes, you did, and it caused weight problems for me. So I'm not doing it to my kids. They are adults now and eat almost anything, so despite Dad's warnings, they survived. I was at a daycare when I was little, probably 4 years old, and they tried to physically force me to eat lima beans. They gave up after I vomited on them, and after that I was able to eat what I wanted. I, 55M, have issues to this day with trying unknown foods. Navy beans for me in a diner. My mother had to win. Projectile vomit is quite the trophy. My paternal grandmother was like this. I don't like ham. Never have. But ham was the thing that my grandmother made every time she had guests. She used to watch me like a hawk, so it wasn't like I could wrap it in a napkin and shove it in my pocket or something. There were tons of fights between my grandma and mom. Dad and grandpa just kind of sat there or took my siblings out of the room. The woman never liked me though, so I'm not sure if it was me specifically or if she really did have the clean your plate mindset. I'm a very picky eater. It sucks. I wish I wasn't, but certain foods/textures literally make me nauseated. It's much more than not liking it, and it's not something you can force to change. I feel like these folks who try to force it are the same people who ask depressed people if they've just tried being happy. If you haven't experienced it, you'll never know. My dad flipped. My dad tends to have a volatile temper. When my youngest siblings, 9M plus 11F, don't do as they're told by my mom, my grandmother steps in, where she'll raise her voice at them plus, depending on what they're doing, drag them out of bed. They recently got a new PS5 for Christmas. Apparently now was the last straw for my dad. He called for my brother so he could watch as he flung the PS5 console, Oculus plus his phone out the back door, smashing into 100 pieces. All 3 of my siblings, introducing 15F, are petrified. My parents are arguing about his drastic escalation plus lack of parenting skills. He's done this before, smashing my own electronics on the street when he's had enough of us. I'm 23, plus I own my own electronics that estimate to around $5,000 plus as I'm the eldest. I guess I'm more tolerated by my dad, but now we are all waking on eggshells, waiting if our belongings are next on the chopping block. I know you are upset about the electronics, but I would be more concerned for you all than the stuff. That behavior usually escalates into something bad. Being on the end of it is not good. Stuff can be replaced. People can't. Thanks for your concern. It honestly means a lot. I'm pretty sure he won't escalate to violence. He's not a drinker, doesn't do drugs, and the last time he flogged any of us was when I was about 11. Still, don't take this lightly. Destroying valuable possessions is just a cat's whisker away from direct physical violence. If you are of age, and you can assure your safety, keep receipts of your possessions and say, "I'll tell the whole family what you did, and if you destroy any other property of mine, you'll be explaining it to the judge in small claims." Also, if this is fairly new behavior, there may be a medical reason for it. I'm thinking a brain tumor or a series of small strokes or some weird, rare thing. Not that I have any idea how you'd get him to see a doctor. One of the reasons no one talks to my dad now, as adults, was he was so abusive and violent. He still doesn't understand. Your parents are supposed to be an example of the love you deserve. Would he be okay with your partner doing this to you? And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why I am staying single. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and we will see you in the next video.